It was an accident, wasn't it, Emma? David's voice was tight as his fingers dug into my hand in the ER. I looked back at him, each breath stabbing my ribs with pain. The bright concern on the nurses' faces clashed with my husband's forced smile, and his mother's carefully staged worry. My name is Emma, and 12 hours ago, my mother-in-law shoved me down our hardwood staircase. Now I was lying in a hospital bed with 3 broken ribs, a sprained wrist, and bruises that looked like an abstract painting. Tell them you tripped, Patricia, my mother-in-law said sweetly. You've always been a little clumsy. She clutched her designer handbag, her manicured fingers flashing with wedding rings as they caught the overhead lights. I shut my eyes, the memory playing back in perfect detail. I had been carrying laundry upstairs when Patricia appeared at the top, letting herself in with the key David gave her without asking me. Our argument over her constant unannounced visits escalated fast. This is my son's house, she hissed. You're just the stand-in wife. The first one knew her place. Before I could answer, her hands were on my shoulders. The shove wasn't gentle or accidental. It was firm, intentional, and followed by a small, satisfied smile that still chilled me. Mrs. Walker? A young ER nurse's voice pulled me back. I need to examine you alone. Hospital policy. She shot David and Patricia a look. I'm her husband, David protested. And my mother needs to wait outside, the nurse added firmly, her badge reading Kelly. Now please. When they stepped out, Kelly's voice softened. Emma, I need the truth. These injuries could be from a fall, but the pattern suggests someone pushed you. Did they? I hesitated. David never believed me over her. Patricia had spent 3 years quietly dismantling my credibility, and he stayed oblivious. I have proof, I whispered. Kelly leaned in. What kind of proof? Security cameras. I installed them 2 months ago after my jewelry started disappearing. With my good hand, I pulled out my phone, wincing. The stairs are covered. Her eyes widened. May I? I nodded, pulling up the app. The footage was crystal clear. Patricia's face twisted with malice, her hands shoving me. My fall was brutal to watch, but what followed was worse. She stood there looking down at me, then stepped over my body, walked into my kitchen and calmly made tea. 15 minutes later, she finally called David. Only then dialing an ambulance. Oh my God, Kelly breathed, her composure slipping. Emma, this is attempted murder. My husband won't believe it, I murmured. He'll have no choice this time, she said firmly. I'm calling the police. This isn't just abuse. She wanted you seriously injured. As Kelly left to make the call, I heard Patricia in the hallway. David, sweetheart, maybe we should get Emma into therapy. These accusations, the paranoia with cameras, it's unhealthy. I know, Mom. Once she's recovered, we'll get her the help she needs, David replied. My heart sank. 3 years of gaslighting. Things moved or broken. David telling me I'd misplaced them. Patricia's venom masked as jokes. But this time was different. This time I had evidence. Kelly returned, 2 police officers behind her. Through the narrow window in my hospital room door, I watched Patricia's perfectly composed expression shatter as they drew closer. David's brow furrowed in confusion, then darkened with anger when one officer pulled out a notebook. Mrs. Walker, Kelly said, holding out my phone. Do you want to press charges? I drew in a slow breath, ignoring the ache in my ribs. Yes, I said with certainty. Yes, I do. Patricia's outraged cry rang down the corridor as the officers began questioning her. This is absurd. David, tell them. Tell them your wife is unstable. But David's eyes weren't on his mother. They were locked on my phone screen, where the footage played in stark, undeniable detail. His face had drained of color, hands shaking as he watched the woman he'd always defended attempt to kill his wife. The next few days blurred into a cycle of police interviews, medical checkups, and strained silences. I was discharged with strict orders to rest and a prescription that left the world hazy at the edges. David urged me to come home, but I chose to stay with my sister Kate instead. He gave her a key to your house without even asking you. Kate fumed as she set me up in her guest room. And he's been making excuses for her for 3 years. I thought back over those years as she neatly arranged my medications on the nightstand. The jewelry Patricia swore I'd misplaced, The heirlooms that vanished after her visits only to appear in her home as gifts from David. The constant digs at my cooking, cleaning, and looks. And always, David's same refrain. Mom's just trying to help. My phone buzzed. Another message from David. Please come home. We need to talk. Mom's been arrested and they're treating her like a criminal. She is a criminal, Kate shot back, reading over my shoulder. She literally tried to kill you. The preliminary hearing was set for the following week. The case was overwhelming. Security footage, hospital records showing Patricia's deliberate delay in getting help. Detective Martinez, the no-nonsense lead on my case, had more to show me. Mrs. Walker, she began, spreading photographs across the table. We found something during the search of your mother-in-law's house. Do you recognize these? My breath hitched. There they were, every missing item. My grandmother's sapphire necklace, my mother's pearl earrings, even the engagement ring from my late fiancé, which I had searched for in vain years ago. She took them, I whispered. All those times she said I'd lost them. And this, Martinez continued, sliding another photo over. Patricia's phone opened to a months-old text to David. Emma's becoming a problem. She's not good enough for you. Remember Karen? She knew her place. We need to do something about this one. Karen, David's first wife, who had accidentally fallen down those same stairs 5 years earlier, survived, and vanished from his life without explanation. We've contacted her, Martinez said quietly. She's agreed to testify. The weight of it hit me hard. This wasn't just about me. Patricia had done this before. And David, had he known? That evening, David showed up at Kate's. He looked wrecked, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, clothes rumpled. Emma, please, he began when I met him on the porch. You have to understand. Ma's not well. She needs help, not prison. If you drop the charges. Did you know? I cut in. About Karen? About what your mother did to her. His silence was all the answer I needed. They found my things, David. Everything she stole. Everything you said I was careless enough to lose. My voice was steady, though my hands trembled. They found her message to you, about me being a problem, about doing something about me. I never thought she'd actually hurt you, he murmured. She's your mother, I said, anger finally breaking through years of restraint. And I'm your wife. You gave her a key without asking me. You dismissed every fear, every warning. You stood by and watched her steal from me, demean me, and chip away at my spirit, piece by piece, and did nothing. Every single time, you chose her over me. Emma, no. I cut him off. I'm done. The police have reopened Karen's case. Your mother will finally face the consequences for what she's done. And so will you. His brow furrowed. What does that mean? I pulled an envelope from my pocket. Documents my lawyer had prepared that very morning. It means I'm pressing charges against your mother for attempted murder and theft. And I'm divorcing you for conspiracy and emotional abuse. He stared at the envelope, the color draining from his face. You can't do this. We can fix things, once Mom gets help. Your mother pushed me down the stairs, then left me there for 15 minutes before calling for help. And you? I let out a bitter laugh. You told me I was paranoid and needed therapy. Well, the cameras I installed proved I wasn't paranoid at all. The detective found her diary, David. Pages detailing how she got rid of Karen, and how she planned to get rid of me. And your text messages, encouraging her so-called protective behavior? They're in there too. You're not innocent in any of this. His face crumpled. The mask of a caring husband finally slipping. I'll lose everything, my job, my reputation. You should have thought about that before you chose your mother's side over your wife's safety. Twice. I turned to go inside, then paused. Oh, and David, I'm keeping the house. Attempting to murder your daughter-in-law has a way of voiding property claims. Your lawyer can speak to mine about the rest. I closed the door on his stunned expression, leaning against it as Kate wrapped me in a soft hug. You did it, she whispered. You're free. For the first time since my fall, I felt like I could breathe again. The truth was out. Patricia and David could never hurt me again. 6 months later, I sat in the courtroom as Patricia's carefully composed facade cracked under the judge's sentence. 15 years for attempted murder, plus theft charges, and the reopened case involving Karen. The evidence had been overwhelming. Security footage, her detailed diary of both attacks, and Karen's powerful testimony. She told me I was never good enough for her son, Karen had testified, hands trembling but voice steady. And after months of psychological abuse, she pushed me down those same stairs. When I told David, he said I was just confused from the fall. That's when I knew I had to leave. David didn't escape unscathed either. His texts and documented enabling of his mother's abuse led to conspiracy and accessory charges. When the story broke, he lost his position at the law firm, his reputation in ruins. The divorce was finalized 3 months earlier. He'd been sentenced to 5 years probation and ordered into counseling. As the bailiff escorted Patricia away, she turned to me one last time. The hatred was still there, but now it was laced with something else. Defeat. She had lost it all. Her freedom, her status, and most importantly, her control. "You did the right thing," Detective Martinez said gently, resting a hand on my shoulder as we left. "Your case inspired 3 other women to come forward about similar abuse from their mothers-in-law. You've started something important." I thought about those women as I drove back to my newly renovated home. The first thing I'd done after the divorce was replace the stairs, not out of fear, but as a symbol of reclaiming my space. The security cameras stayed. A reminder that trusting my instincts had saved my life. Kate had helped me redecorate, stripping the place of every trace of Patricia's influence. The items she had stolen now sat proudly in my bedroom, tokens of resilience. My grandmother's sapphire necklace glimmered in the light, no longer hidden away in Patricia's jewelry box. The doorbell rang. "Karen, right on time for our weekly coffee." We'd formed an unlikely friendship during the trial, bonded by shared survival and recovery. "The place looks amazing," she said, settling on my new couch. So different from when we were both trying to please her. I handed her a mug. "I know. Back then, everything had to be beige and proper. Now, it's about what makes me happy." Karen smiled, stroking a bright throw pillow. I did the same. Painted my whole apartment purple just because I could. David hated purple. We shared a knowing glance. The small acts of defiance that helped us reclaim our lives. "Have you heard?" Karen asked, pulling out her phone. "They're starting a support group for women with abusive in-laws. They want us to speak at the first meeting." She showed me the site, Breaking the Silence, recognizing and responding to in-law abuse. It had resources, warning signs, survivor stories. "We should do it," I said, surprising myself with how eager I felt. If I'd known there were others like us, I would have installed those cameras sooner. "Speaking of cameras," Karen grinned, "the company that supplied yours wants to feature your story in their domestic safety campaign. Sales have tripled since your case hit the news." I laughed, imagining how much Patricia would hate knowing she'd become a cautionary tale. That night, after Karen left, I stood in my kitchen, decorated my way, organized my way, and felt peace. The local news had called my case a turning point in recognizing in-law abuse. For me, it was simpler. I trusted my instincts, protected myself, and refused to be silenced. A text from Detective Martinez buzzed in. "Another case today. Woman installed cameras after hearing your story. Caught her mother-in-law tampering with her medication. She's safe now. Thought you'd want to know." I smiled, running my fingers along my new countertop. Every bright color and modern touch was a quiet victory over Patricia's criticisms. I'd learned that happy endings aren't always about forgiveness. Sometimes they're about breaking free, reclaiming your voice, and helping others do the same. The support group was set for next week. My story would be the first, not as a victim's lament, but as a roadmap. How to see the signs, protect yourself, and take back your life. My security cameras blinked quietly in their corners. Less for protection now, more as a reminder. They had given me back my voice, my power, and my future. In the end, Patricia's attempt to silence me had only made me louder, stronger, and more determined to make sure no woman endured what Karen and I had. As I got ready for bed, I caught my reflection in the mirror and saw something that had been absent for years. Peace. I was finally truly free.